Nonviolent Peaceforce has accompanied anguished mothers seeking the return of their abducted children, often enabling them to successfully negotiate with the captors.
We met the parents, especially the mothers. They were walking on the road, barefoot. The tears were coming out of their eyes.
Prior to joining NP's peacekeeping project in the Philippines, Atif Hamid worked as a civilian peacekeeper in Sri Lanka.
They just fell on the road and they started crying that our children are taken by force in the middle of the night as they were sleeping, and there is nobody to help them. Nonviolent Peaceforce provided accompaniment to those parents, and we took them to a location where the children were being kept. Rebel group told them that they will not release their children and they can go back to their houses. So Nonviolent Peaceforce went ahead and we negotiated. Finally, they released all 26 children, and all this was done in 48 hours.
We could not go to the place where our abducted children were held without accompaniment of internationals. If we confronted the armed groups alone, we could face serious consequences. Whenever we called Nonviolent Peaceforce, they would help.
The parents who used to be silent when their children were abducted started taking up these issues themselves, started walking up to the training camps in groups. This is remarkable. To infuse this confidence.
Recruiting the right people, those who are experienced and motivated, and providing rigorous training is essential for building a large-scale peace force.
We want people who do have some international experience, but especially cross-cultural experience, because people will be working in teams that are not uniquely North American or European or from a global southern country, but a mixture.
Our peacekeepers are recruited in a very rigorous fashion.
Those who pass the initial screening are invited to an intensive 3-week core training. Those who remain after the core training are sent to various field sites for an additional 6 to 8 weeks of in-country training.
We've been doing this core training on a regional basis in Romania, where we did joint field exercises with the Romanian Army. Our core training involves a lot of role play and very rigorous experiential learning.
They have to really train people to be sensitive and careful and diplomatic, and to think exactly how you communicate, everything you communicate, exactly what are the implications of every move you make everywhere you travel.
You never know what you can do until you face a situation. Before every intervention, you need to think and think and think, and to see if your strategy would work, and in any case you need to have a plan B.
You need a lot of motivations and lots of positive way of thinking, and also self-control and self-management.
Nonviolent Peaceforce was invited to Mindanao by local civil society organisations to help them consolidate the peace process at the grassroots level. Mindanao has been in the midst of a heated conflict between the Philippine government and various armed groups fighting for a Muslim homeland. A ceasefire agreement in 2003 led to renewed hopes for a permanent settlement to the conflict. But sporadic fighting has continued, and in 2008 the ceasefire collapsed. NP opened offices in the autonomous regions of Muslim Mindanao.
There are government forces, there are rebel groups, there are paramilitaries, there are lawless elements. So all the presence of these different kind of groups, it makes the life a bit more uncomfortable and uneasy on the ground.
Ongoing war that is taking place between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and IMALIF, that is resulting to a lot of human rights violations. And those human rights violations that are being committed should have to be closely monitored. And the presence of the international communities are really needed.
We see a lot of suffering, and our heart goes soft when we see things, is way beyond our comprehension.
The tension has been rising. Civilians are in fear of being caught in the crossfire. Thousands of them vacated their homes and are living in IDP centers.
Children are traumatized by these events, especially when they see planes above, bombing their area. Gunshots, they hear gunshots and even see people being killed or shot at. In some cases, they themselves are victims of these indiscriminate bombings and crossfire.
Civilians are displaced, they need accompaniment, they need protection, and this is where Nonviolent Peaceforce is very much needed.
We have a lot of problem, lot of field side, everyday conflict. People asking our presence, our daily presence, because people need support.
Nonviolent Peaceforce trains and strengthens civil society groups in order to empower local civilians with the tools they need to keep the peace.
With their presence, it reduces the tensions. When we say the presence of a non-violent, a foreigner, it reduces our fear. We have a very good relation when it comes to peace building.
We come to realize that peace building work includes also a monitoring of human rights situation so that we can respond immediately.
The demand for unarmed civilian peacekeeping is increasing. Nonviolent Peaceforce has many requests from civil society organisations in areas of violent conflict, and there is a constant demand in the Philippines and Sri Lanka for more peacekeepers.
It's not only the job of the military, it's not only the job of the police, it's not only the job of the local constituents or the local officials or local government units to solve the problem, but it's everybody's job.
We hope that peace will exist in our Bangsamoro homeland.
Until and unless we empower people to understand the value of a culture of peace, the value of nonviolence, I believe that peace can be broken again and again.
We're not romanticizing these concepts. This is hard-nosed hope that's been fostered in some of the most violent places in the world today and is working. And there is growing recognition and, more importantly, a deep understanding among people that this is not only working, but this is the way that we have to go.
You didn't see the people of South Africa giving up the struggle just because in a demonstration or in a moment they were repressed by the police. This isn't an activity, this isn't an event or a campaign. This is work which people around the world are committed to because we know it's necessary.
It is being documented and shown that if we work at the community basis, if we work on prevention, if we work on deterrence, we can have a major impact in stopping war.
But it must grow in scale and scope in order to meet the great demands from conflict situations around the world.